back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. I'm so sick of hearing about this. It just keeps coming up. If the 96 Bulls played the 2017 Warriors, what? I mean, we keep talking about the same stuff all the time. And I told you before, if you go to these Facebook sports groups, they will be talking about the same stuff all the time. It's the same stuff. You'll debunk a slew of things in 1 year about them defending LeBron James. He didn't have no help. He played the greatest teams of all time. Michael Jordan was 1-9 before Pippen. Couldn't beat the Big Five Celtics with 5 Hall of Famers. Couldn't defeat the Pistons with 4 Hall of Famers, while Jordan had 0 to 1 Hall of Famer, a bench player, Pippen, that came off the bench. Pippen got Jordan over the hump. His first playoff series win with Pippen averaging 10 points per game. I'm like, wow, it's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. You debunk this, and like I told you, you debunk all this stuff, and then a year later, a group of another group of dummies come along and they say the same stuff. We heard Robert Parrish saying that Jordan never beat the greatest teams of the 80s, the Celtics, the Lakers, and the Pistons, who have 4 to 6 Hall of Famers on one team. We hear all this dumb stuff, and I'm like, Robert Parrish, we done heard this. What are you saying new, bro? When did you defeat Michael Jordan and it was just you and Bird, or Micheal and Bird? Never. Never, ever, ever. Only Michael Jordan is supposed to defeat 4 to 6 Hall of Famers with a dude from Central Arkansas on his team that was a bench player. Only Michael Jordan. Only Michael Jordan is supposed to have no help. And then when he has help, they're the greatest players of all times. Even though the guys he played with were not #1 franchise players of another team, like LeBron had. #1 franchise players of another team. And we kind of talked about this the other day. LeBron has never led a team to a championship. Not his first finals win, not his second, not his third, not his fourth. And the reason why is, if you're playing with other teams' #1 franchise players who are leaders of other teams, you cannot lead a team to a championship. You can't do it. It's impossible. You're just you're part of the leaders on the team that led a team, or the team that you're on, to a championship. You guys don't understand that, do you? LeBron played with other teams' leaders, which means he was no leader, right? For sure. When he won his championships, he was part of the other leaders that led that team to a championship, right? There's only few guys that did it, like Michael Jordan. I'm being serious. That's just the way it is. I think Hakeem did it. Let me see. Joker did it. It's some other guys. I don't think Hakeem did it on his second championship. I would say Shaq did it because Kobe was drafted. It's not many players that did it. If you're playing with another team's #1 franchise player, you're just another leader, just like him. And if you got two leaders, you're just one of the other two leaders, or one of the three leaders on the team. Michael Jordan did it in 6 championships. Kukoc was not an NBA leader of another team. Dennis Rodman was not another leader of another team. Scottie Pippen was not a leader, right? I guess you can say Duncan did it after what's his name? After David Robinson left. There's few players that have did it. Greek Freak did it. Curry did it without Durant. LeBron has never done it. He's always been with other leaders. Michael Jordan is the only guy to do it 6 times. Okay? That's just the way it is. That's why you cannot compare these two. Dennis Rodman was not a leader of another team. I'm trying to think of some other guys. If you guys can think of some other guys, let me know. I wouldn't even say Kobe did it, because Paul Gasol was a leader of another team. And I'm not trying to take anything away from these guys who did it with just, one other guy. But LeBron has two other leaders on those four championship teams. Kyrie was a leader before LeBron came. Kevin Love was a leader of another team. Um, what's his name? Dwight Howard at one time was a leader of another team. Even Dwayne Wade when he won in '06. Guess what? Shaq was a leader of another team at one time. Wade was. Alonzo Mourning was. I say Wade. I mean what's his name? Gary Payton. He basically was the leader of the Sonics. It's very few. I think, if I'm not mistaken, was it Bill Walton? I think he was a leader of that team when he won. I have to look up the players on that team, but it's very few. And Michael Jordan did it 6 times. That's what's so great. That's another record. And we talk about the GOAT debate. We got to leave out so many things. We only can talk about Michael Jordan. Oh, the 6 championships, the 6 Finals MVPs, the 5 MVPs, the 10 scoring titles, the 3 steals titles. It's so many things we can talk about. We don't even talk about any longevity with Michael Jordan. We don't do that. That's not really greatness. Because a lot of players who weren't, I mean, they were good, but they weren't great as far as top 5, have longevity records. That's just how it is if you play for a long time. Not taking anything away from these guys, but again, LeBron's longevity is based on the league getting weaker. Based on, in the 2020s, the league going to spread them out, 4 guys at the 3-point line, and now he can really barrel into the lane. You think he was doing it before? Whew. I think he done did it all his career, really, because when he was back in Cleveland the first time, he put all his guys on the 3-point line and turned them into the shooters. I think El Galskis basically was the only one. And that's why, what was it? Not Drew Gooden. What's his name? Carlos Boozer. That's why he left. He wasn't with that, man. Carlos Boozer was a low post player. He wasn't about to sit at no 3-point line. That's why Kevin Love went crazy. Even though Kevin Love was a great 3-point shooter, at one point, when he was with Minnesota, he won a 3-point contest. He was a low post guy too. He was very versatile. Man, the guy might have been top 75 player if he went out and went and played with LeBron James. So let's talk about this. Why are we always talking about, or they always talk about, and they want to put the 96 Bulls against the 17 Warriors? Why do they want to do that? But on the other hand, what they will tell you is that LeBron beat the greatest team of all time, which was the 16 Warriors. So is it 17 Warriors with Durant, the greatest team of all time, or the 16 Warriors that LeBron beat? They will try to do anything to downplay Michael Jordan. See how the greatest team of all time is 16 added a piece? Why would you add a piece? Why would you add one of the greatest shooters of all time when you already got 2 of the greatest shooters of all time? That makes no sense to me. So you're not really being fair. That means the 96 Bulls, who were both still considered the greatest of all time, or was the greatest team of all time, can add a piece. They can add Charles Barkley. They can add Hakeem Olajuwon. Why you got to put Durant? Why you got to put Durant if you was the greatest team of all time? That doesn't make sense. They're trying to cover all bases for LeBron, right? The LeBron media. Oh, he beat the greatest team of all time in 16. But the Bulls got to play the 96 Bulls got to play the 17 Warriors. They couldn't beat that team. No. Unless the Bulls can add a piece, right? Unless they can add a piece, then they're not playing the 17 Warriors. They got to play the 16 Warriors and match up with them. And people don't want that because they know they would destroy the 16 Warriors. They would destroy them. Not because they're not a good team, because they're so much better than them. We got to stay on topic. If you say the 16 Warriors are the greatest team of all time, well, the Bulls at one time were the greatest team of all time. So these are the 2 teams you want to match up. And they would just, listen, let's go to the 17 Warriors against the 96 Bulls. What you guys got to remember is they got Tony Kukoc. He's a shooter too. Who's gonna stop a 6'10" Tony Kukoc from scoring? Ain't nobody on this team gonna stop him. Who's gonna stop him? Are you going to get no? Draymond Green will be playing Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman would destroy Draymond Green. He would destroy him. He have him crying, go run for his mama, going to his podcast crying, something like that. It wouldn't work. And of course, you will put Scottie Pippen, one of the greatest wing defenders of all time, on Kevin Durant. I don't care if we're playing the 90s style defense or this style of defense today. It wouldn't matter. Scottie Pippen would take the challenge. This wouldn't be LeBron taking a challenge and ducking and all that stuff and putting another guy on Kevin Durant. This would be Scottie Pippen trying to shut down Kevin Durant. I know we saw Kevin Durant in the Olympics, and he got his shots off over nobody because they were playing a bunch of nobodies, Sudan and Serbia and all these fools that wouldn't even make NBA. We heard about that, right? All these NBA players in the Olympics for other countries that's in the NBA, they would never make a 90s rosters, right? These role players, they'll never make a 90s roster. I don't even look. As good as you guys think Joker is, he's undersized as a center in the 90s. He's undersized. Rick Smits would just be blocking his shots. He's undersized, which means he would have to go to the power forward position. He's too big to play small forward. So he would have to play power forward. That would be a problem because most of your power forwards back then are bruisers. Just the way it is. He would be in trouble. But all these role players in the Olympics that play in the NBA for their countries, they would never make a roster in the 80s and 90s. They just wouldn't. And we talked about this before. There were many international players that tried out and wanted to play in the 80s and 90s and didn't make it. It's not like they didn't try. They just weren't good enough. Nobody's just gonna let you shoot in their face like that. And you got to remember today, as much as I've seen it my whole life, go back and watch the 80s and 90s basketball. These guys did not need all these damn screens to get a basket. Today, screen. That tells me they're not really these great shooters or these, one-on-one players that we've been told. Nobody's just going to let you shoot a three like that. Unless a guy kicks out to you because he was driving and you was wide open like a Steve Kerr or a Paxton or something like that. Nobody's just going to let you shoot a three in their face like today. It's not going to happen. Also, what you got to think is, if we play in the no-touch era of since the late 2000s, all these guys like Micheal Jordan, Scottie Pippen, even Tony Kukoc, and all these guys on the Bulls, you got to put their point averages up 5 to 10 points more a game. If you're telling me they now are playing in a no-touch era, they're going to score at will. They're going to have a field day. And even though people say, oh man, they changed the rules. They said couldn't use hand check in the late 90s. Well, go check it out. You can still put elbows in the post, and you can still use an arm guard on a guy. You can still use an arm guard. And they're not going to call it. They just did away with the hand checking because the hand checking, when you do that, you're like staring a guy in which way you want him to go. And that's what these guys had to play with in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and much of the 90s. If you go back and watch these games, I was watching 1970 finals, the Lakers against the New York Knicks. And my God, that guy bringing up the ball, this dude, and this happened, in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, and 60s. You're only going to bring up the ball so much facing forward when a guy comes up to you and start hand checking and try to steal the ball from you at the same time. So you start backing your way across the half court line so the guy won't steal the ball because he's hand checking you. And then another guy comes up and he's trapping you. So you got to get rid of the ball. You don't see none of that stuff today, man. These guys back then had to expend so much energy on both sides of the court just to get a damn shot off because it's hand checking or elbows in the post or, arm guarding, stuff like that. So again, if the Warriors, even with Durant, if they had to play against that type of defense, their scoring is going down. It's going down. It's going down. Right? You saw what a great defender like Drew Holiday in the Celtics they did to the Mavs, and they couldn't arm guard, they couldn't hand check, they just played solid in your face defense. Right? That's what they played, in your face defense, and they was looking crazy. The Mavs were looking crazy because the Mavs are a real finesse team. They're not used to that type of defense, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's not even a defense that these Warriors, even with Durant, will see. They will see the Bulls defense of the 90s. It will be all up in it. You're going to have to get your own shot with a dude all over you. You're going to have to make some moves. And I'm trying to tell you, Curry coming off them screens, you're going to have to work a little bit harder. Because we saw what Reggie Miller had to do. Dude was coming off like 2-3 screens, get the ball, and still have a hand up in his mug. So this is what you guys got to think about. If the Bulls play in this type of offense today, their scoring is going up 5 to 10 points per player. If we play the 90s rules, that Warriors team, even with Kevin Durant, their stats are going down. Their points are going down at least 5 points per game, if not 10. They're just going to be frustrated. That's what you guys don't get, okay? And to me, play your own style of offense and defense. That's what I say. We're saying, oh, if they played them, blah, blah, blah. No, you play your own style. In the 90s, they played their own style of offense and defense. That's how they played. You will see the Rockets. You will see the Magic when Shaq was on it. Those teams would spread it out, right? They would be more at the 3-point line. You had 3 guys at 3-point line, 2 guys inside, and that's how they would play. So if you try to shut down Hakeem or Shaq, they would be kicking the ball out to the 3-point shooters. So everybody was playing their own style of offense and defense. Some guys ran the triangle. Some guys ran the Princeton. These guys today, especially since the 2020s, it's almost like the NBA tells these guys, hey, if you don't play the same style of offense, then you can't be in the league. Every team has to play the same style of offense. 4 guys at the 3-point line and 1 guy inside, which means guess what? Now all the defense is the same because you got 4 defenders defending 4 guys at the 3-point line and 1 defender in the middle. So to me, it looks like a gimmick rigged game. So these guys don't have to exhaust energy. In the 80s and 90s, and before that, all you seen was a paint crowded or whatever game you want to play. You wanted to play. But everybody was moving. Nobody was playing the same style of offense and defense. It's almost like the NFL. What if every NFL team was running the same damn scheme on offense? We're just going to play like Mahomes. The Chargers, the Bucks, the Jets, all these teams. They said we just going to play the same offense. Everybody going to play the West Coast offense. Now, a lot of teams do, but a lot of them don't. A lot of teams play the same damn defense, but a lot of them don't. That's why nobody is watching the NBA. It's boring. It's a positionless game. And this is why they caught up to us. Yes, because you're playing their game. They could never beat us because we wasn't playing their game. They could never beat us because we was playing defense. Let them play their game. Let them all sit at the 3-point line. And let them shoot threes with a dude all up in their mug. Some of the best defenders. And when I say the best defenders, we always had the best defenders in the league. We won't have a dude named Rudy Gobert making the defensive team. And if he did, there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm trying to say is a lot of your top offensive players were also great defenders. I'm not trying to say all of them, but a lot of them. A lot of your great offensive centers, they were great defenders. Some of your forwards who were all great offensive players, they were great defenders. And your point guard and your guards too. Look at this era. We can name some names. Your best offensive players, your Durants, your Steph Currys, your Anthony Edwards, your Jokers, your Bookers. Did I say Durant? Who is this? Luka. your Kyries. If I can think of some more in a minute, I'll put it out. None of these guys I just named never made one defensive team. Never. Jason Tatum never made a defensive team. Never made a defensive team. Right? Rudy Gobert ain't no two-way player. He's a dude with two left feet. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. I'm not trying to hate, but these guys got it so easy today. So easy. Even y'all hate on Dan Marley, and he made two defensive teams. Larry Bird made defensive second teams. Even though Magic Johnson never made a defensive team, but he led the league in steals like 2 or 3 times. My goodness, LeBron hasn't been on the defensive team since 2014. That's 10 years. You can't even make a second team? Goodness gracious. As good as they say Clay is, I think he only made one defensive team. He's supposed to be this great defender. I mean, come on, man. Kevin Durant is 7 foot, and he's never made a defensive team. That's crazy. How are these guys going to stop the Bulls from scoring? I'm trying to tell you, their points are going to go up 5 to 10 points if you're playing guys who aren't even great defenders. And then you're playing a team full of great defenders, they're ready to shut you down. You don't want to play this 96 Bulls team, okay? Because they were great on offense and defense, and so was the Warriors teams. But give me a break. Even though this Warriors team in 16 and 17 were great defenders, they don't make no defensive teams, right? You're Durant, you're Curry. Clay made one, which was the second team. Draymond Green, okay, defensive player of the year, and he's been on defensive team. But he ain't fixing to do nothing with these Bulls. The dude is undersized. Dennis Rodman, another all-time great defender. Draymond Green ain't no all-time great defender. Who's he going against? Who's the great centers that he's going against? Who is it? Was it Hakeem? What about power forwards? Was it Charles Barkley? Was it Malone? What great postman is Draymond going against? Give me a break, man. Give me a break. So these are two great teams in our era. You can't compare them. Just two great teams. But to me, if they ever met up, it's poopy pants for the Warriors. It's poopy pants. It's poopy pants. The pedigree of that 96 Bulls team, and we was kind of talking about this, about the dream team playing, the 2024 Olympic competition, right? The France, the Serbia, the Puerto Rico, the South Sudan. Where are these guys in the Olympics that was playing? It's going to be poopy pants, right? When the 92 Dream Team steps on the court and the opponent see Micheal Jordan, I'm talking about the pedigree. I'm talking about the accolades. I'm talking about the skills. I'm talking about the defense. The opponents will poop their pants. Micheal Jordan, Scottie Pippen, John Stockton, Karl Malone, Clyde Drexler, Ewing, Barkley, Malone, Mullen, whoever I'm missing. The opponents will poop their pants just because of the pedigree. And then we go to the 92 Dream Team. It's going to 96 Dream Team. It's going to be the same. Most of those guys on there that was on 92 Dream Team was on the 96 Dream Team. You added, I think, Shaq, Hakeem. Who else was on there? I think that was different. I think Gary Payton was on there. But man, these opponents in the 2024 Olympics will poop their pants if those 90s Dream Teams hopped on the floor. They poop their pants. They wouldn't know what to do because these guys were great two-way players. They will run through them. I'm not spreading out no damn floor. I'm going to run through you. I want to see you shoot these threes, and I'm all in your grill. They're going to run through them. That's just the way it is. You guys make believe, and you make stuff up.